We hope you've been enjoying this series of streams called Rise Up for Freedom. We here at Operation Underground Railroad recognize there are millions of children throughout the world who don't enjoy the simple freedoms that you and I have, and may even take for granted. These children are enslaved in a $150 billion human trafficking industry, and we exist to rescue them, to set them free from this hellish slavery so they can enjoy the freedoms that you and I enjoy. Today, we'll be taking a little deeper dive into the work that's being done to detect, review, and report child sexual abuse material, or CSAM. We'll also hear from someone whose daughter was targeted online and how she's now actively taking steps towards greater safety in both online and real-life spaces. We hope as you watch, you'll feel compelled to help in whatever way you can. Make a financial donation, get involved in the Rise Up for Freedom social movement, or maybe even host a caravan in your area to raise awareness. You can find more information about all of that on our website at o.u.r.rescue.org/riseup. We need every one of you to help share the message that this has to end. Our first guest is one of my great colleagues in our education team. He's our education program manager, Tyson. And Tyson is on the front lines of trying to raise awareness, education, focus on prevention, which really in a lot of ways is the long-term solution to this issue. Tyson, are you there? It is great to have you with us joining. Thank you so much for being here, for taking time out of your schedule. Please tell us just briefly about your background, what brought you to o.u.r, and then we're going to really dive into some things that parents should know to keep their kids safe online.
Yeah, grateful for the opportunity to be here, Matt, and to share. And I've been connected with o.u.r. for a number of years now, been an employee for a couple years, but volunteered in my community for years before that. Just grateful for the opportunity to have that connection, to raise awareness among my community members about human trafficking, what it looks like, and how we can move forward.
Well, thank you so much. So we're going to start, I'm going to expand the little question I said just a minute ago. So not only tell us now what are some things parents should know, let's expand it to grandparents who may be worried about their grandkids now. Challenges that I never face, parents never face, grandparents never face, that their kids and grandkids are facing now. What can they do to keep their kids safe online?
Yeah, sadly, it's intrusive into our lives. Not only human trafficking, but child exploitation isn't something that we go out and we seek in our lives. It comes into our lives through the channels and interactions that we're having in our communities. And one of the major ones today, especially here in the United States, is online platforms.
Yep.
And that takes a lot of different, looks. It can be a website, a chat room. It could be a social media app. It could be a video game or app game on your phone. There's so many ways now as we've become more, focused on technology as a society, that these aspects are coming into our lives again in an intrusive way. And so being aware of those ways that predators are utilizing applications and social media and websites to target individuals is a must for any parent or caregiver. Yeah,
that's really well said. So I have two college-age daughters now. I've been through the difficult teen years. I don't know how good the cameras are right now to see the gray hair and the sideburns, but I love my daughters, but they give me a lot of trouble over the years. And arguably, they are now out of sort of the danger zone in terms of what you were just talking about, online exploitation. Let's dive a little deeper into that. Tell us about some of the dangers of different apps on kids' phones and other social media. What do parents need to be focused specifically on for that? And then talk about how can parents and grandparents be proactive in keeping kids and grandkids safe?
It's a question we get asked all the time. Which apps are dangerous? What are the things I need to watch out for? And it's great that we're proactive in thinking about that we're aware that the risk is out there. But the list would never end if I wrote out a list of all of the bad apps or the places that individuals are being targeted, because it happens everywhere. And it's not, just because of the name of the app, but the number of users that are on it. Yeah, that makes a big place of how risky an app is. So a lot of the social media sites are at a higher risk a lot of the video games are at a higher risk of these things happening. But there's also other features that we need to focus on that lead to this problem. It'll help us better identify how we can protect ourselves and our kids instead of just shunning maybe a few applications and thinking, hey, I'm safe.
Right.
But features like communication and connectivity, what features that connect users together on that game or that app exist? And with social media, it's easy. Those it's all about connecting. It's sharing videos, it's chats, it's comments, and predators use those. But as so often goes undetected are things like games and web chats, where predators can enter into that space. They can pose as another user, maybe another child or younger, user in that space, and then just have the interactions as if they're playing on the game.
Right.
Hey, that's a cool thing you built there, or man, I love the way you did that, or your pictures are really cool. And they start in that friendship space, utilizing the features of communication that are built into these digital devices and games that we're using.
Yeah.
That's one of the features that as parents and caregivers, you need to be aware of.
Right.
What features of communication does this app have? How can other users identify my child, and then how can they contact them and build a relationship and lead into grooming, as we call it.
Exactly. No, I appreciate the detail you're going into. And just for me, with my daughters, I would tell them a couple things. Unless you physically know the person whose friend request, you've accepted, you will never know whether you're talking to a 16-year-old girl or a 65-year-old man. Is this a 14-year-old boy or a predator, an adult predator online? And then for those who play, gaming with strangers, I say, look, go ahead and play these games with people you don't know, but don't talk about anything not related to the game, which is what I think you brought up. I've been with Operation Underground Railroad almost since the beginning. You've done everything through operations, aftercare, speaking, media, outreach, development. But what I love now is, even though we'll always be first and foremost a rescue organization and aftercare organization, what you and your colleagues on our education team are doing are really cutting edge. Tell us about the Start Talking program. Tell us about specifics of what we have. What can people go to our website and find out? I know we're still a lot of it in development phases, but as we wrap up your portion here, tell us about what people can do by visiting o.u.r.rescue.org and maybe other sites to see just what o.u.r. is doing to try to get this vital prevention and education to people who need it most.
It's been one of the most exciting aspects of o.u.r. over the years is its growth and its reach and the opportunity that we're getting to support agencies around the globe in so many things. And as we've grown over the last few years to introduce education and prevention and then develop programs towards that end. A simple one is on our site. You can go and find information as a parent. It's a program called Start Talking, and it's how to begin that conversation with your teens, with your children about online safety, which is one of the most important pieces that we can do is to start the conversation, help them understand that we're there for them. As I present in schools, 90% of kids say they would not feel comfortable in approaching their parent or a caregiver if they were being targeted online. And that's a piece we need to change. And so we have a program called Stop Trafficking. It's a school-based prevention program for K through 12 kids that focuses on empowering them to identify the tactics of grooming that predators use, but also to empower them to break that cycle that happens. And so it's exciting to be a part of this, to move out into this prevention space more as an organization, to focus on the unique different aspects that trafficking looks like globally, and then tailor prevention programs to make the most effective impact we can.
Tyson, thank you so much. I absolutely love being educated on what our education team is doing. This is so vital for prevention of child exploitation and human trafficking. And now we're going to take it a little bit from the theory to the practical, if you will, because we're joined in studio by Lisa Wilson, mother of New York Jets quarterback Zach Wilson, who we're so grateful for her courage and bravery to tell her story, because many of you out there might think this can never happen to my child. This can never happen in my home. Well, I think, Lisa, you're about to tell us, unfortunately, that it can. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. If you would, and again, as much or as little as your story as you're willing to share, Just talk a little bit about what happened to your daughter, and again, your advice now, because unfortunately, you've had experiences firsthand. What do the parents and grandparents in our audience need to know about this?
I think I want people to understand that, I have volunteered for o.u.r. long before this nightmare, so I was very aware, and I had sat all my kids down and showed them, you guys, there's predators online, be careful. Like I checked her TikTok account, I just saw her doing little cute dances. I thought everything was fine, and frankly, I'd raised 4 kids that had really done well, and I thought, geez, I should write another book, a parenting book. I'm really something else. And then I got smacked by this, and for that to happen to us was like mind-blowing to me. And I know that there was intervention.
Right.
I know that God went, you need to know what's happening. It was so strange. And so I'll tell the story really quick, because people ask me all the time, like, how did you know something was happening? Because I was checking
for sure
everything.
Yeah, and maybe even to explain, I'll tell you, my 2 daughters are college age. I don't know what Roblox is. I've heard of it. Maybe talk about this to someone who maybe doesn't even know what it is, that their kids are even using it.
Yeah, so Roblox, if you go and look it up, it literally looks like Lego people. So it's marketed to children.
Yes.
It's children as young as 5. And so I knew she had it, and it really I'd never heard one single thing about Roblox or predators or anything. I thought it was a children's game. Mm-hmm. And her grades started slipping. She was really irritable, really hard to be around. And I think a lot of time we're like, she's a 13, she was 12 at that time. She's a 12-year-old little girl, and they're just difficult. We can't wait till they grow out of this stage. And ironically, Zach came home in January, and he said, Mom, what is wrong with her?
Oh, he noticed.
And he said, what's wrong with her grades? Like, Mom, what's happening? You would never allow this. Wow. So Zach, being kind of that parenting type, took her phone, like completely stripped it, and she came home and it said, keep calm and do your homework.
Wow.
He put on the cover.
Yeah, good for him.
So all of a sudden, long story short, I kept noticing my computer kept disappearing. And even at that point, she was like, Mom, I'm doing homework. And I was like, okay. And one Saturday night, I can't explain the overwhelming feeling it was like, and normally after 6 kids, I'm tired, I would scream, bring down the computer. And I just kept thinking, go up the stairs and get your computer. Like, I can't explain the overwhelming. And I walked up the stairs, and she said, why are you here? And I said, give me my computer. And I went in the bathroom, and I locked the door, and I've never checked a history on a computer in my life. Clicked a button, it said history, I clicked it, and there's all these conversations on TikTok at this time.
Goodness.
And I was like, I'm literally like, who is this? Who is she talking to? Like, what is happening? And all of a sudden, she had taken my phone, deleted the account, and they disappeared.
Wow.
So I said, Sophie, tell me who that is. And I think this is where a lot of parents stop. Mom, I'm just talking to some kids. They're just kids. There's a little girl, and this is her name, and there's a little boy, and this is his name. They're 12 and 14.
Okay, it's fine. All right, you can leave it there. I'm glad you did.
Because we don't want to know,
yes.
right? We don't want to know. So ironically, I went to visit, and it just kept gnawing on me. And I went to visit a friend in the hospital, and I normally wouldn't. That's kind of embarrassing that something like that would happen. And I said, God, the weirdest thing happened, and I just can't get it out of my head. And she looked at me and she said, Lisa, I bet you anything that she met somebody on Roblox.
Wow, yep.
And I was like, Roblox, but this was on TikTok. And she said, Lisa, my daughter has tried to kill herself 3 times. And she's my very good friend. And I said, why have you never told me this? Like, why is nobody talking about this, right? So I go back, and in my fitness class the next day, I said, you guys, I really have this overwhelming feeling that you need to see what your kids are looking at on their phones. I don't know, there's something seriously happening that doesn't feel right. Another mom came up, Lisa, my daughter was groomed on a social platform for a child, and she's tried to kill herself twice. And my mind is like, why are these parents not talking? Mm-hmm. So the next week, I literally, every number I could find on a paper, I searched her phone, everything, and I'm searching, and my older daughter texted me or called me and said, Mom, I just got an email with a code to an email.
Oh, wow.
She said, okay. I went, reset it. So I reset it, I went into that email, it said, you just deleted your TikTok 2 days ago, do you want to reinstate it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's all right there, see?
Like 9 months of conversations.
Yeah.
And she had met him on Roblox, pretended to be 5 children. He set it up so that the kids kept talking about this other cooler kid. He was 17. He was the best looking. He was the coolest. He was the one everyone wanted to be with. And then when they introduced her to him, do you want to be my girlfriend? I mean, it was it was like a book,
And
like
you're just
somebody who
looking
read a
at
book.
all
And I'm
of
watching
this
it
and how
roll
long this has
out over
gone
9
on.
months, and I'm just like sick. And in the beginning, it was so innocent, and he just slowly groomed her and
That's how it
molded her
happens.
little brain. And she's 12. She had no idea what was happening. And she said to me one day, Mama, we were just friends and we were all just playing a game. And then he got me to go to TikTok and it got really weird. But then they've already done the whole where they are really aggressive with them and they break them down and say horrible things, and then they build them back up. I'm the only one that will ever love you.
Of course, that's what, it brings them in and draws them in. Did you refer that to law enforcement at all? How did you put a stop to this? How did you know it was a him? I mean, how were you able to go through and find out what exactly had been happening over those 9 months?
Sadly, I know he was a school teacher, and I know that because it was almost as if he was getting off on giving her hints, knowing she didn't know what he was saying. So one tip that I try to give parents is I'm like, stay very calm and talk to them very calm. I read all of the messages and I'd say, so listen to what he's saying. He's saying the good little kids in his classes don't have to do homework. Sophie, he's saying that he has to plan for the art fair. Are you listening to these words? And she'd say, no, Mama, he's not a teacher. He's just 14. And I'm like,
Once again, if you don't know exactly with whom you're talking, it could be a teacher, it could be anybody. A child doesn't know.
The other thing that was really interesting to me is he kept trying to get her to change her appearance. So he would say, if you love me, you'll cut off all your hair and you'll dye it purple. If you look at how the kids in society are looking today, it is very clear to me that they are being groomed.
Wow, so it's not of their own choice sometimes that they're choosing to do this.
I think the predators do it because it lets them know they have control over them. I think they also know that it destroys their confidence. They look in the mirror and they don't like what they see anymore, and they think, well, this is the only person that will love me like this. Thank heavens she never sent any pictures. He kept trying, but she's kind of a scaredy cat. Thank heavens.
Because that then gives the blackmail material. Can you imagine if your daughter had sent a picture and then he's like, okay, now do you want your mom to see this? Do you want your famous brother to see this? Exactly, will come out.
Wow. So thank heavens she never did. But it was very, very clear he was an adult man to me. I mean, it wasn't even a question. So I was like, hey, what do I do? I called ICAC, and this makes me sad. They never even logged on the account.
Oh no, because we've had such good relations with our ICAC, but I know they're overworked and it's just so sad.
And I think he basically said she never sent nudes, Lisa. And I said, okay, and I did all the homework. I screenshot everything that was inappropriate. I screenshot everything that gave me tips that he was a teacher. And I did all the work for him, and I just wanted him to go talk to her because I knew for a fact he was talking to at least 8 children. So I wanted him caught because of them. I had my daughter. She never sent any pictures. I was in control of the situation now, but I needed him stopped, and I live with that every day. And he just said to me one day, Lisa, you need to let it go. You're a good mom. And I'm like, but I need to help these other kids, right? So I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm on a social platform. That's what I do to motivate people. And that's my thing. And I was destroyed. I literally was like, I need to delete my account. I have no business telling anyone how to parent. I went off for 4 days, and I was getting ready one day, and I went out and I propped up the phone and I just started to talk. I was like, I don't want to embarrass her, but how do I let this happen to these kids? Like, I realized all of these parents that I knew, the same thing had happened, and nobody was talking about it because they're embarrassed, right?
But God's putting you in a position now you can save others and protect others.
That's what I felt like he handed this to me and said, you need to share your voice. So I propped it up and I hit send, and I have never rewatched it. To be honest, I don't even know really what I said.
But the reactions though that came in?
It was crazy. And the next 2 weeks were devastating. My daughter said, Mom, you've got to put your phone away. The stories that were coming in, like kids that were parents that saw my story logged on and found they were talking to many predators, little girls that thought they were running away with these men, parents who would write me and say, Lisa, I went and I approached her and she ran away and I can't find her and she's gone to meet him. Stories where the predator had talked a brother into raping his sister. I mean, just the most horrifying stories.
And it all comes out because you had the courage, though, to speak, to put that out. I think, too, and as again, I would love to have another 20 minutes with you, maybe to give you the last word, too, to parents and grandparents now who are out there. And as we always say, none of us would ever let our teenage daughter or son go clubbing at night by themselves.
Right.
And yet, and I'm speaking for myself, we'll let them be in their room with a cell phone or a computer or laptop. In a lot of ways, the same thing. So how would you end this by telling parents and grandparents that there is something we can do, but how do they keep kids and grandkids safe?
I think what they need to know is that I think we get in the mindset that, oh, the police will save us, the government's gonna save us, you're the only one that can save your child. And I think that was what was so hard for me, is knowing I bought that piece of equipment, I put it in her hands, and let that man come into her bedroom every night. And she only has an Instagram on my account, on my phone, where I monitor it on my phone. She has to log on my phone to post about cheer or whatever. But even today, I'll go look at her requests, and they're grown men that have children and wives asking her to let them follow her, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, they still do, but at least now she has her antenna out, correct?
Right.
And that she knows, and this is what parents need to know, is tell your child, you're not gonna get in trouble if you come tell me. We're gonna protect you, but so many times they try to keep it hidden, I bet.
Well, and I think they don't know. I think she still believes they were 5 kids.
Yeah.
I still don't think, she absolutely believed that it was just kids she was talking to and she didn't understand.
Well, I'm so grateful. We're grateful for your courage. And again, thank you for being o.u.r. supporter. This will not be the last time that we talk. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for everything you guys do.
Well, thank you very much as well. So thank you to Lisa. Thank you to Tyson. And that's a wrap on today's stream. Thank you to our team for sharing their hard work in our education department. And a huge thank you to our guests and their inspirational stories. We appreciate your willingness to rise up and speak out about sex trafficking. We know it is a difficult subject to address, and the only way we can end it is to begin and continue to talk about it. If you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom, or if you plan to see it, remember that o.u.r. does not receive any financial support from the movie, but you can still get in the fight by making a generous donation. Go to our website at o.u.r.rescue.org. That's ourrescue.org to get more information on how you can support the women and men, the heroes who are on the ground every single day fighting child exploitation and human trafficking. And speaking of Sound of Freedom, be sure to set a reminder on your calendar for our last stream in this Rise Up for Freedom series. We'll be speaking with some of the Operation Underground Railroad operators who were on the ground back in 2014 when that rescue took place. They'll be answering some of your questions as they share their firsthand accounts of the mission that left a lasting impact on millions. Until then, remember that together we will rise up for freedom.